Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Kerrville Weekly News Roundup, hosted by the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network. We are your co-hosts and founders of the network, Andrew Gay and Tom Fox here in the studio. Gilbert Pies is out today, so it'll just be Tom and myself talking about our top news picks for the week. So without further ado, let's get to it. It's about 4:15 here on another hot, sunny Hill Country day, but it's not 106, so that's good. I think that was yesterday, so hopefully we broke that streak. But let's get into it. Tom, what you got for us today, sir?
So my first story is the Caillou Foundation has agreed to host the statue honoring Kerrville resident and Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manzel. It's on property that sits next to City Hall, which the Caillou Foundation owns. This is after the Kerrville Independent School District declined to place a statue of Manzel outside of Antler Stadium, and it really takes care of the questions that were raised around the Kerrville Independent School District putting the statue up. I think it's great that this town honors Manzel. Has he made mistakes? Yeah. Who hasn't made mistakes? But guess what? He made mistakes and won a Heisman Trophy, and I think that is worth honoring and celebrating. And hopefully he's turned his life around a little bit as well. Everything I've seen in the last few years sure seems to indicate that. So the other part of that story is that Daryl Beecham, our friend, the executive director of the Museum of Western Art, is going to be assisting with the design and creation of the sculpture. So I'm pretty excited to have Daryl involved in that project. Obviously a great friend of the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network with his podcast, It's Art, Let's Talk About It. So that's my first story. The second story is unfortunately a little bit less positive. And there was a shooting outside of Mountain Home this week where police officers, or at least public service officers, went to make a welfare check on a resident, and the resident yelled at the police officers, then opened fire on him, and they returned fire and killed him. And according to Louis Amstoy in the lead, and originally the story said that the officers involved came from the Department of Public Safety or Texas game wardens. However, the DPS released a statement that said it was the Kerr County Sheriff's Office. The Kerr County Sheriff's Office released a statement saying there were no deputies involved in the shooting. So at this point, it's unclear who is involved in the shooting. And we're going to have to just wait for more details on that. It's certainly a tragedy.
That is tragic.
And one more tragedy I have to mention. I don't want to sound like a downer, but it was a horrible car accident on, I think, the Fredericksburg Highway. 5 people killed in 2 cars. One car with a solo driver and a second car with 4 males in it. The second car was passing in a no passing zone and hit the second car, and all passengers were killed. I don't know about the seatbelt situation or any of that, but it's just a reminder to please be safe when you're out there on the roads. No passing zones are no passing zones for a reason. It's usually because there's limited visibility going forward. And the people on the other side of the road generally have to trust that someone is not illegally passing as they're going up a hill, because as they crest that hill and somebody's coming the other way, there's no way, no safety maneuver or emergency maneuver you can do to get out of the way. So please be safe out there. Follow the state's safety signs and highway signs. They're there for a reason. They generally work. So be safe out there. We're moving towards, a few holidays in the late June, early July, to celebrate the birth of our country. And a lot of people are going to be drinking and probably driving, and just be safe. That's all I have for today.
Yeah. And, the other thing about that wreck that you mentioned is I personally, with my family, came up on a wreck one time on Dead Man's Curve out there. And there's some really dangerous spots, even if you're not passing along that stretch of highway. So I'm with you. You folks, be careful out there. Okay. So thank you, Tom. Moving right along. I got a couple of picks for us. Just mainly events. So the first one I wanted to mention coming up to almost said tomorrow, not tomorrow because tomorrow's Friday, but Saturday there's a Hill Country author, Larry Morris, that is a sci-fi author, and he has a book called Salvage that he's going to be discussing. He's going to be talking Saturday at the library, and I thought that was worth mentioning just because we here at the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network have a wonderful host and podcast that revolves around hill country based authors. We just finished recording an episode just before we did this podcast. So
Cowgirl Peg,
and I was lucky and fortunate enough to sit in on that interview, and it was just it's just so powerful. It's like some of those stories, and like I was telling you earlier, I don't know if it's just because writers maybe are inherently like really good storytellers or what, but always powerful stories with those folks. So that'll be interesting. Check out that's at the Bud Holdsworth Memorial Library this Saturday. And then there's a nonprofit called Last Chance Forever, and they deal with birds, and I don't know if it's just birds of prey particularly, but I learned a little bit about them at the most recent Renaissance Festival. They have a setup out there that they usually do. Very interesting nonprofit. But last night they had at the Calou Theater, they had or actually it was at 10 a.m. It was in the morning, not night, at the Calou Theater, but they had a presentation over there. So and that was last Wednesday night. So if you folks got to check that out, I hope it was as awesome as the presentation and bit that my wife and I saw at the Renaissance Festival. Very interesting nonprofit. I'm glad to have them in our area and keep coming around. They put on a really good show. And if you've never seen that before, it's really something to see birds of that size and magnitude and birds of prey that have that kind of power just flying around. They can send them around like pets and almost like a dog. So anyway. Yeah, and that'll do it. I think that'll be my two mentions for the week. Tom, I think you ate up most of the news headlines there, and it's unfortunate that there were some tragic headlines like that this week. But that'll probably do it on the news front this week. But what about this weekend, Tom? You think you got anything exciting planned?
Well, actually, I was going to go see Larry Morris at the library on Saturday. I'm not quite sure if we're going to be crashing 105 again. But if we are, we'll be ensconced inside, not out in the heat of the day. But there's some great music. If you can check out the Kerrville Daily Times, or The Lead gives a great roundup of some just fabulous music this weekend. Texas Swing Sunday night at the Calou Theater if you're into that genre of music as well.
Wow. My wife and I were just doing Texas swing country dancing lessons last night. We actually started with Texas two-step, and then we moved on to Texas swing. We graduated to Texas swing. So I never thought I'd be learning those moves, but that's been a great experience. And then for myself, I don't think that this is like the first weekend that we kind of have open in a while. And last weekend we had some stuff going on, but I was able to make it out to the North Fork again with my cousin, who's a big fly fisherman. And I got to fly fish, and man, he pulled like a 4-pound bass out of the Guadalupe up there. And I mean, it looked like something that I was used to seeing pulled out of a lake in East Texas. I mean, it was impressive. So that was a very satisfying Kerr County resident experience. So anyway, I don't think I have anything too exciting like that planned this weekend, but just laying low, enjoying our hopefully not too hot download weekend. So, okay, guys, I think that'll do it for us today. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, interact with us, share our content. It helps other people find our show. And we're on here once a week, usually on Fridays, but today is Thursday. But we'll be back next Friday with another weekly news roundup. So we'll catch you then. Y'all have a great weekend, safe weekend. Stay cool out there because it will be hot. We'll see you next week.